Okay, welcome back to our next tutorial. We're going to be learning something called the pen extension. This is the lesson, and I've got an open Scratch project here that we're going to begin with. The first thing I want to remind you is to name our projects according to the unit. So 3.5 pen tool and your last name or whatever we've been using so far. And we're also going to make sure we share the project when you're done. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of our cat. We don't need the cat for this. We're going to go and create a new sprite. We'll get a new sprite. It's called pencil. There it is. I'm going to click on that and add it to my sprite window. I'm also going to go to my costumes and I'm going to get rid of the first, there are two costumes. I don't want the first one, so I'm going to delete it. I feel like that's easier to work with. I'm also going to just change, you can see it's quite light over here. So I'm going to click on this section here and I'm just going to darken it up a little. It doesn't really make a big difference. It just makes it easier to see against the white background. And back to our code. We're going to return to costumes in a moment, but for now, let's sort of set things up. I'm going to set the size of this to 50. And I'm going to set the X position to -150 and the Y position to -130. Okay, and then I'm going to grab a couple of extensions. So you notice we have a number of extensions along here. We're going to be looking at this little icon here, which is called Add Extensions. Click on that. It opens up a number of extension options. I'm going to choose this one right here called Pen. And you can see now we have a new icon at the bottom and a new set of tools associated with that pen. Okay, and we're going to take a look at what these things do. So first of all, I'm going to drag out a couple. We've got pen up, we'll use pen down, we'll use erase all. Okay, and these do kind of exactly what you would expect. I'm going to go and grab a move icon, grab that one, and I'll grab a turn. Okay, and I'm going to say pen down, and I'm going to move 10 steps. Okay, and then I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to move 10 more steps, and I'm going to turn, et cetera, et cetera. This does kind of what you would expect. Okay, pen up removes the pen. Okay, so when I change or I turn, okay, and I keep moving, the pen is now lifted up off the paper. Pen down again, and now I'm drawing. Erase all resets or erases everything and gets rid of our ink, I suppose. Okay, I'm going to reset this. So this was -150. This was -130. Now you'll notice as I did this, the pen was down. So it continued drawing because I moved the pen while the pen was down. Okay, so note that when you're working this, that you do need to lift the pen up before you make any moves. Okay, I'm going to hit pen up, I'm going to hit erase all, and I'm going to change my direction back to 90. So our pen looks the same as it did. Okay. So we're going to do all of those things. We're also going to make, I'm going to duplicate this guy because I'm going to be working with this and showing you some things. I may hit pen up, pen down, and erase all while we're working. I'm also going to set a kind of a reset here, because every once in a while, as I'm doing this, I'm going to want to reset, turn the pen off, and move this thing down. I don't want to keep putting in these numbers. So I'm just going to add here and erase all. I'm going to put a pen up at the bottom of this. I'm also going to put in a go to. Okay, and that means when I do move this, so say I move it a bunch, I put the pen down, I move it a bunch, I rotate, whatever I'm doing. Okay, and when I want to reset, instead of just hitting erase all and then bringing it back and leaving that line, right? When I did that earlier, we had that problem. Right, oops, that should be -130. Okay, and so you can see the problem there. Instead, what I'm going to do rather than that is I'm going to rotate. I'm going to move. And now when I erase all, pen up, and reset, it erases everything. Oh, and I got to add a direction as well. So I'm going to go to point in direction 90. And now when I set it, everything is back to the position that I wanted. Okay, a little bit of a reset button there. Okay, so the thing that we're doing today is we're learning how to use this tool to create a little bit of a graphic. Okay, and within this lesson, there are a couple other things we learn and kind of reiterate. Some things you may have seen before, some things people have been experimenting with some of the tools, and I very highly encourage that. You should do more than just the kind of the bare necessities of what I show you, and you should take a look at what is in this software and see what other tools exist and what you can figure out. Okay, the more you practice with this, the better you're going to be. As we get closer to the assessments near the end of the unit, you'll be asked to sort of think through some problems, and it's a little less hand-holding. Okay, so be sure that you are kind of thinking as you do this. Too many students kind of turn off their brains and just follow the instructions. Of course, it's important to follow instructions. It's important to follow the videos all the way through, but I want you thinking, how do you do it? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to get rid of this guy, or bring him down here, and we're going to bring back some of our controls. So we've been, or our events, we've been using these already, previously seen these. I'm going to be using a key press event. So I'm going to grab this guy here, okay, and I'm going to use, for now, we'll use the up arrow. And when I hit the up arrow, I want to set the pen down. So I'm going to duplicate that guy, make sure the pen goes down, and I'm going to move 25 steps. This guy out of the way for now, move that guy over there. I'm going to make that 25. Okay, and now when I hit the up arrow key, okay, it moves my pen. Okay, easy to do. I'm going to reset everything back there. We're going to add a second one of these, okay, which does a similar thing. So I'm going to again grab my event. I'm going to make this a down arrow. And I'm going to, again, grab my pen down, that there. I'm going to move, let's say 100 steps. So I'm going to grab this guy and make that 100. And then I'm going to turn. I'm going to make that turn, let's say 90. Okay. And what that's going to do is, let me reset everything here. When I press my down arrow, okay, it's going to move. So it moved my 100 and it rotated. So now it's pointing in a different position. So if I duplicate this and add it to the bottom, I'll actually just click this one time so you can see. You should be able to guess what's going to happen. It's rotated 90, so it's going to continue kind of making the next step in a square, and it returns. So if I added that here, I'll duplicate it again. And each time I do this, right, I'm basically creating, if I did it 4 times, okay, let's reset everything. Now, if I do this, it's going to create a square. Okay, and it returns back to its original position. Now, if you look at this, this looks a little funny because the computer doesn't know what this graphic is. It doesn't know what the sprite is. It could be a cat, it could be a ghost, it could be, in this case, a pencil. And our human brains look at that and think, well, that's funny, it's in the wrong spot. So let's go make a small adjustment. I'm going to go to my costumes. And the way that this works, I'm going to select all of this. And if I move it, you can see there's like a little graphic here, a little target. Okay, that's the center or the registration point of this graphic. And so what happens is, as we make these moves, the computer says, okay, well, there's the center point I'm going to draw from that, not knowing, of course, that this is a pencil. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually pick the whole thing up, select it all. I'm going to drag it so that the kind of pencil lead is right at that point. And now what's going to happen is, because it's a pencil and we expect it to draw from a certain point, as it moves, it's going to do kind of more of what we expect. Let's go back to the code. I'm going to reset this. And now when I run this, if I go up arrow, okay, it's drawing from the pencil. And if I go down arrow, it makes my square. Okay. It does it all very quickly, obviously. And it is kind of hard to tell exactly what's happening, but because we saw it step by step, I'm assuming everyone can follow along with that. Okay, so let's erase all, and we're going to try some other things. So far, I'm looking at this, I'm wondering, is there a way to make this more efficient? This is a lot of kind of repetition. And so one of the things that I want you to think about doing as you are working through these problems is thinking about how to do this efficiently, okay? And so what I might do is I'm going to duplicate this guy, and I'm going to put him here. And kind of in what I did earlier is sort of the key to what we want here. We basically have this thing repeated 4 times. And we've learned already that there is a repeat function right here. And so if we take these guys away and drop this guy in our repeat and change it, instead of manually doing it 4 times, and we drop that guy in there, that's going to do a much more efficient job of doing what we were hoping to have happen. Okay, this down arrow runs this code, and instead of making this longer, it's much easier to do it 4 times. And this is just a little more efficient code, and you'll see more of this as we go. There are lots of efficiencies we can make with our syntax, and we'll be working on making sure that we're always looking for them and utilizing them as much as possible. Okay, so that's the next step. Now we're going to make a duplicate of this. right? And we're going to change this to, let's say, the left arrow, and we're going to make a small change here. If I wanted to say, let's make this, instead of a square, I wanted to make it a 5-sided pentagon. I've already done some math here. This would be 72. And if I hit my right arrow, let me reset everything. It makes a pentagon because it does my 5 times. It changes 100 steps and it turns 72 degrees. 72 times 5 is 360. That creates my full loop. Okay, and this can happen sort of any number of ways. There's you can do the math here as you like, and we're going to look at ways to, again, find efficiency. So as I'm doing this, I'm actually realizing we can make this even simpler by using operators. So if I take an operator, which looks like this, I'm going to grab this guy right here. And right now I'm sort of saying that I want this, this number here is, I figured out this angle by going 360 and dividing it by the number that of sides that I'm creating, right? Well, I can do that kind of easier by saying make that 360 divided by 5. Let me get rid of this, and I'm going to drag this operator in here, okay, which will do the same thing. Okay, when I hit right arrow, there it is, that's working. But what's nice about this is I can actually change this to 6 and this to 6. And now when I do it, I'm going to reset this. Now when I hit my right arrow, it makes me a 6-sided or a 7-sided or 8-sided, etc., etc. Okay, and so we have, again, more efficiency that we can work into this. We'll be learning about variables later, where we can set a variable and change, instead of changing this 8, we can use a variable to say the number of steps that I want is 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever it is, and then drop that variable into here, which will then pull that variable. We'll learn about that in another lesson. Okay, so hopefully all of that makes sense, and I think you should spend a little bit of time trying this. Okay, don't just follow the steps. Try and see what can happen if you try it. Remember to always add in comments saying what everything is. Okay, so this is a simple block that moves the pen, etc., 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 all the way up to, this is a block that creates a multi-sided polygon. Okay. And then what I'm going to have you guys do is, and then sort of the next piece of this is for you to problem solve, I guess, like a little challenge. I'd like you to, using what you've learned here and what you've seen here, I'd like you to make 2 objects. One is going to be a dotted line, okay? And that dotted line is going to be kind of dashes. So it'll be like 5 movements, or like, move 5 with the pen on and move 5 with the pen off, creating a dotted line that is 100 steps long, okay? And you can attach that to, let's say it's going to be, say, instead of the right arrow or the down arrow, you can pick a letter, but just indicate what it's going to be. Let's make it, actually, let's be really specific. So I'm going to ask you to make the dotted line will be the space bar. Okay, so you're going to use the space bar for the dotted line. And for the second thing you're going to create, which is going to be a dotted square, which will be 100 by 100, that we're going to use the, let's say, the A key. Okay, the A on your keyboard. Okay, when the A key is pressed. Okay, and so those are the 2 things I'm going to have you make. A dotted line that is 5, it's going to be 100 steps long. It's going to be 5 on, 5 off. Okay, using the space key. And then the second object is going to be a square that is 100 by 100. It's going to be using the A key. And again, it's going to be 5 on, 5 off all the way around. Okay. The key to this is to do this as efficiently as possible. Okay, so don't, this would not be ideal. What we're looking for is something more like this, or ideally even better, something like this. Okay, so think about how you're going to make this happen in the most efficient way. Hopefully that makes sense, and you're going to try that and succeed at this challenge. I'm sure it'll take a bit of thinking and a bit of problem solving, but that's the whole idea, thinking it through and doing your best to come up with a way to make it work efficiently. All right, best of luck with that, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.